Management, Fakir Mohan University, and I'll be your host and moderator of today's session on the topic Rethinking and Realigning Employee Voice for Sustainable Business Performance, organized by Association of Indian Management Schools for Inspiring Young Minds. Esteemed speaker, respected delegates, faculty members, and dear student participants, welcome you all. Thank you for joining us today to explore a topic that's becoming increasingly vital in today's dynamic business environment: rethinking and realigning employee voice for sustainable business performance. In a world where organizations are constantly evolving, the need for companies to engage their workforce in meaningful ways is more critical than ever before. When we talk about employee voice, it is how employees share their ideas, opinions, and feedback. Basically, participation of employees, we can say voice of employees or involvement of employees, that can significantly impact an organization's culture, innovation, and overall sustainability. Over the course of next few minutes, we will be delving into why it's essential to rethink how we view employee voice and align it with the business goals for sustainable growth and success. In this webinar, we'll explore the evolving role of employee voice, trends of employee voice, and many more. How basically business can be reframed with this concept to align with long-term performance objectives. Now, I take the privilege to introduce our esteemed speaker, Professor Padmalita Routray Madam, who brings with her a wealth of knowledge and experience in vast area of HR like organizational culture, engagement, and sustainable business. Madam is an esteemed professor of Department of Business Management, Fakir Mohan University, Balasore, Odisha. Madam is a distinguished academician with over 20 years of experience in teaching, research, and professional training. Madam has guided over 8 PhD and 13 MPhil scholars, with several other currently pursuing research under her supervision. She has contributed over 85 research publications to national and international journals, conferences, and book chapters. Her research credentials are complemented by prestigious accolades such as Best Research Paper Award ISTD 2011, Semabandhu Misra Gold Medal for HR Excellence at NIPM Utkal Chapter 2015-16, and many more. Madam has her contribution to society through capacity building initiatives and professional development. She has trained senior scientists at DRDO, PXC, and ITR Chandipur, enhancing their skills. Dr. Rautray Madam is also involved in professional organizations such as NHRD, ISTD, ISLE, and OCA as the National Council member of ISTD. Her expertise extends to strategic HRM, organizational behavior, research methodology, HR analytics, and business ethics. With this, she has a wide recognition in academics. Now, it's time to listen from our esteemed speaker. I heartily welcome you, madam, to today's session. Over to you, madam.
Thank you. Thank you, Pratima. First of all, I'm extremely thankful to Association of Indian Management School, Hyderabad, especially Priya Ramkumar, who has taken initiative for arranging this particular webinar. I think this is my second session with AIMS, and it is very interesting to address young aspiring minds. Before I start my session, let me first say something about why this particular topic, employee voice, which is not a very new topic. It is as old as any other topic in behavioral science, but its relevance is not moving down. Rather, it is going up in the last 2 decades. And it is a very important and vital topic in the context of changing business environment. What earlier we are thinking about employee voice, we have to change our thinking. We have to realign with our business goals. We have to realign with our employees' requirement. We have to realign with the changes which is happening in the society. And that is the purpose of the today's session, where we have to rethink and realign so that we can make the business more successful, more sustainable in future. Before I discuss, let me put my agenda of discussion today. We will be discussing about certain trends. Then we will be discussing about the concept of employee voice. And here we will be talking about two contrasting concepts, employee silence and employee voice, but which are the you can say that the both side of the same coin, or it can exist in a continuum from silence to voice and voice to silence. Or then we can discuss about the multidimensional aspects of employee voice, from which discipline we have borrowed the concept, whether it is very much discipline focused or it is interdisciplinary in nature. Then what employee voice strategies employee really adapt, and whether it is good or bad in an organization. Then how we can make the employee voice as one of the way to leverage or to encash to get the maximum benefit for sustainable business performance. That will be my agenda of discussion. If we look into certain trends, I have identified the three major trends. The first one, on basis of some research study which has been done by the Forbes magazine. Second one is one of a leading leadership and research institute has done the study. And this trend shows that why employee voice is becoming very, very important. Number one, that if employees feel like using their voice purposefully in an organization, then they feel that 4.6 times empowered to perform their best or give their best to an organization. But the ground reality is that in a global study, it has been found that 86% of employees feel that their voice is not heard, or even if it is heard, it is not fairly heard, or they don't get some kind of justice when they're raising their voice in form of grievance, in form of their needs, in form of their requirement, in form of their suggestion. You find that there are 86% feel they are deprived. And nearly half says that they're underrepresented, means their voice, even if heard, it is not reflected in the decision making, it is not reflected in their job related things, or they don't feel empowered because the voice may be heard, but it is underrepresented in any of the organizational decision making process. In another study, we also find that 2 out of 3 employees, that means 63% of employees feel that their voice has been ignored by some way by their manager or employer. And the most important thing is that these voice, when ignored or not heard or not given importance, has impacted on the employee turnover. That means their intention to stay in the organization gets reduced. So that is the reason for which these trends must be a starting point of discussion for practicing manager, or maybe for the academician to understand the concept fully. Third, maybe for the researcher who are engaged in such kind of research, that they must find out that why the voice is heard or not being heard, and how to make the voice as an active voice, not a passive voice, which may lead to engagement and which may lead to some positive outcome. If the trend is there, if the trend is very negative, and the trend shows that employee voice is very important from employee perspective, from organizational perspective, and if it is not heard, or if it is not used, or if it is not given importance, then what is the impact? The most important thing is that the people get less and less engaged. And in today's scenario, when you find that the Gen Z or or maybe the new generation Alpha will be coming and to the workforce, they need high level of engagement, and they need that their voice should be respected. The voice should be the part of the decision making process, and the voice must be respected, and they should reflected in the decision making process, and they must feel empowered so that they have more engagement. Otherwise they may find not engaged or severely disengaged, which may lead to poor retention. Poor customer experience is another thing, because if we talk about the organizational hierarchy and actual operation of organizational hierarchy, it is like an inverted pyramid. Means the lower level people are more closer to the customer. They interact more closely with the customer, and the feedback or the suggestions or the needs of the customers must be translated through this employee to the top when we are making policies or having some kind of decision making. So when their voice is not heard, then obviously we are going to have poor customer experience, whether it is an internal customer or external customer. Third is that lower employee productivity. Why? Because the employee will get less involved, and the employee morale will be affected, and obviously the productivity goes affected. The most important thing of not being heard, which may have severe impact on the business in terms of creativity and innovation. Here we can extend this term creativity in the sense that people have more and more ideas. This idea must be explored. The idea must be generated. The idea must be shared. The idea must be worked out jointly, and the idea must be implemented in order to make the firm more innovative, for which the employee voice play a very vital role. So with this background, let us discuss that what is this employee voice is all about, and whether voice and silence both exist simultaneously. So if we look into this particular slide, you can find that on one hand we are having employee silence, and other hand we are having employee voice. It is like a continuum. Either you are being heard or you are not being heard. Either you prefer to remain silent or you prefer to actively engage in whatever you are doing. So here, the most important thing which we should know is that what is this employee silence? And all of you might be experiencing silence and voice in your own personality, that sometimes you feel like saying, sometimes others are not interested to hear from you, or you sometimes don't feel like being heard, so you want to be very passive and remain silent. So both the side we have to analyze. So silence is not that employee don't want to speak. It deliberately doesn't want to speak, intentionally withholding work-related ideas, information, and opinion. Whereas voice is just the opposite, intentionally expressing the work-related ideas, information, and opinion. And if you analyze the silence and voice, we can analyze the silence and voice from two perspectives. One is the motive, What is the employee motive behind the silence or behind the voice? The motive may be, one is the self-protection, and the second one may be other protection, or you want to protect others, or you want to do something as per the desire of the other person. So it's an other oriented behavior or it is a self-oriented behavior. Besides that, you may sometimes also find your motive as more disengaged behavior. So that's why we have two sides. One, on the silence sides, we have defensive silence, which is coming under self-protective behavior. Two, defensive voice, which is again coming under the self-protective behavior. So when we are talking about defensive silence, what is defensive silence? Defensive silence means you try to protect yourself. You don't want to give opinion, or if you give opinion, you feel that somebody may take it otherwise, or if you say something harsh, or the truth may not be accepted by others. So you want to become blunt. You want to give a constructive criticism, but nobody likes it. So you withhold. So you become to try to protect yourself, and that's why you go for defensive silence. And the defensive voice, it is that you selectively give your opinion, because again you have a self-directed behavior that keeping in view the situation, that what others want, and whether your voice will be taken positively or negatively. So you try to make some kind of defensive in your approach. So that's why you can move from defensive silence to defensive voice. Both defensive silence or defensive voice is a self-directed behavior where you feel that you are in personally at risk, or you want to you feel afraid, or you don't want to express, or you want to defensively express yourself and not openly expressing yourself. So that is it is again it is not accepted when we are talking about from defensive silence to defensive voice. Then we have pro-social silence to pro-social voice. Pro-social silence to pro-social voice. In pro-social silence, you try to withhold information, or you try to maintain silence to protect others. Maybe you are in a group, maybe you are in a union, you try to protect them. So that's why you remain very passive and do not want to involve yourself. So you maintain silence to protect others. And similarly, pro-social voice means you express those voices which are accepted by the group or accepted by other people. So that is both the sides you can find from defensive silence to defensive voice, or pro-social silence to pro-social voice. So what we try to say here is that the motive is either you are having a self-protected behavior or other-oriented behavior. And you can have two things. One is the behavior is either silence, or behavior is either the voice. The other category, third category, is called acquiescent silence to acquiescent voice. It is a disengaged behavior. You deliberately don't participate. Withhold information deliberately, or you do not want to participate in the entire process. So neither you go for self protection or others protection, you deliberately withdraw. So it is a passive kind of things. You do not participate in the entire process. So you withdraw yourself. These type of people, over a period of time, they prefer to quit the organization, or have a prolonged silence, which may affect the productivity of the organization. So that is all about the concept of silence to voice. Then we go to the next one, that what are the different perspectives of employee voice. This is from research perspective from 1986 to 2020. Bibliometric analysis and review has been done by different authors, and majority of authors have identified the voice from different perspective. We can classify them into three. One is, initially it was IR focused. You can see that it was a typological error is there. It is 1980s, and in early 1990s. That particular focus was there, where focus is IR focused, where unions, through your workers' representations and labor management relationship, always witness this voice mechanism. And there was more formal mechanism available in an organization to raise the voice through collective bargaining, through workers' participation in management, or any kind of interactive forum. And it was mostly on IR focused. And the second kind of voice is also found in this IR perspective, when you are trying to have justice from the organization, or fairness you want to have from the organization in terms of grievance, or in terms of your showing some kind of concern regarding the fairness, which is you had not been treated fairly or unfairly. In that way, voice was only treated at that time. So it was mostly on IR perspective during during 1980s and early 1990s. Then we have in the latter part of 80s or early part of the 90s, when you find that the concept of HRM also involved, then from in non-unionized organization, you found that some individual voice was given importance. And why this individual voice was given importance? Because first time the HRM concept was also become more business focused, and there we try to give importance to performance of the organization. So HR want to increase organizational performance along with employee performance. So they wanted that employee should give some kind of scope for participation in the decision making. Individual voice should be heard so that it can impact their performance, and we can increase performance of the organization as well as the individual performance. It was a performance orientation for which employee voice was heard. Later on, the second perspectives started in 1990s, in late 1990s and in early 2000. That was the focus, where another contrasting concept came, that means dominance of the OB concept and further assimilation of HR concept in employee voice. And here, voice was treated as a promotional behavior, or the voice is treated as a micro level OB centric perspective, where voice studies were related to, say, certain concept like organizational citizenship behavior. It is linked to employee commitment, employee involvement, employee empowerment, and later on employee engagement. So just to enhance all these aspects, we started linking it from OB perspectives and from HR perspective. So that was in 1990s and early 2000. Up to 2000, early 2000, the research work on these areas were less, not very more. Then we have the third era. Third era is late 2000 till date, which is called integration of these three concepts, IR, OB, and HRM perspective, which is now many of the research are being done on these three areas. Anyone want to do research, they can do research on this by integrating these three perspectives, and they can get a better results. And here we can find some kind of linkages of employee voice with organizational leadership, organizational culture, then social factors, then changes in the socio-demographic factors and its impact, then changing employee voice because of increase of non-unionized sector and reduced power of union. So from collective voice to individual voice, we can find there was a shift. And from IR perspective to OB and HRM perspective, that was shift. And later on, there was an integration of these, the three concepts are being done. So today's, the research as well as the practitioner try to study the employee voice from these perspectives. So that is the basic things which we found in the studies or from the research studies. Then we come to the next one. What is the voice strategy normally people use in any organization? So you can find that, and all of you who are in this session can also identify that, yes, I also use these voice strategies. So there are 9 strategy which we have identified here, starting from direct to incremental disclosure to grapevine. The direct voice, if you want to find that, some people use that direct strategy means I would tell my idea to the boss directly, or to my formal idea sharing mechanism or suggestion box. Like that, I simply share my idea. I do not hesitate in sharing my idea. So if you are your fear part is not very high, so you don't fear. Your personality is very open, very extrovert, and you feel good about the organization. So you are very blunt in your saying, and you directly say whatever you want to say. So it maybe it an educational institution, maybe in an association, or maybe in an organization, wherever situation, you directly just tell your ideas, and you don't feel hesitation in coming up with a good idea and sharing that good idea. So you find many employees are of this category who prefer to have a direct voice. Second one is called the strategy many employees or many people adopt. That's called your incremental disclosure, right? So I do not just give my entire idea. I just start having a conversation. A little bit clue I give to my boss or to any other person whether he is interested in listening me further or not. So you want to like, for example, when you are going to have a warm water bath, how much warm you require, you just taste the water and then you say find that what is suitable to you. You just use that temperature for your bathing purpose. Similarly, when you are having a conversation, you see that what the opposite party is in a state of mind, and whether he is interested to listen to you further or not. And so you gradually disclose your idea. You don't disclose your idea at all, like your first strategy, because in the first you think that others are going to accept it or reject it. But here you try to gradually disclose your idea. That is called your incremental disclosure, right? Third one is a very negative, but still it has a lot of fear. Maybe deniable means I leave notes at my supervisor or my boss desk, and I just give the idea, but do not want to express my name, or I do not want my name should come, but I just have given the idea. So I don't want to take ownership, whatever idea I have shared. So I want to play safe, but I still want to give the idea to my boss or to the other person. Fourth is called third party. Normally, many of you do. Suppose you are member of an association, your teaching association, or members of any unions or employees association. So you don't give your idea directly, you give it to third party. Maybe through some other, you give the idea, or you give it to your boss, and the boss then shares the idea to another person. So in that case, you are having a third party approach when you are trying to share the idea. So that is another strategy many people adopt. If you come to this fourth strategy, which you find that it is around 20 to 22% or 20 to 25% of people in different studies, it has been found that they use this first four approach: direct, incremental, disclosure, deniable, or third party. Then fifth one also 10 to 10-15% people use this one, that is called waiting. You don't disclose the idea unless and until you are asked to do so. You have prepared the document, you have kept everything ready, but you have not shared unless and until you are asked to share it. So you are waiting. If other person is willing, then you can share your idea, or you can raise your voice, whatever may be. So you just wait and watch principle you adopt. Then you can follow that rehearsal, not that you are making rehearsal in your home, rather you are discussing with your peers, your friend circle, peers. Then you have a discussion, and you try to get more appreciation of your idea, and if it is more appreciated, then you can go further. So you make rehearsal, that before it is being disclosed to the organization or to the appropriate forum, you first have a rehearsal, you have a discussion with your peer body, and then you share the idea with the other. So that is your voice strategy you can use by discussing more with the peer. The another one is a very less preferred, but sometimes it is also preferred if the idea is very sensitive or very out of box, or it is very unconventional. You can also start with humor or joking. In jokingly, or you can with a humor, you can say that this should be changed, or this is your aspiration. So you just want that other person should know, thinking that you are just in a state of humor. But though you are in a state of humor, you still try to just convey the ideas or the what you want to say. Computer mediated communication, many of you are doing through social media, through blogs, internal social media, and through your feedback, survey, opinion sharing. These are the some of the way which we are using computer mediated communication when you are sharing. Many of us also sharing or endorsing the idea which is being shared by anyone in the LinkedIn or any other social platform. So that is also coming a very upcoming mechanism through which you can also find that whether employee voice are being want to hard to be heard, we can listen to other person. Then the last one is called your grapevine. Grapevine means you just discuss with one of your colleagues or one to colleagues. It can go through the communication channel. You want that through this grapevine, it should reach the appropriate place. Either your maybe your negative opinion or positive opinion, you want that this opinion should go and be in the right place. So that is all about your voice strategy you can use. And as I told earlier, that very less people go for the ninth one, that grapevine, but still it also used by many people to just convey something which is very unpleasant or not accepted, but still it is not a proper forum through which many employees go. But over the first four, many people go the direct, incremental, disclosure, deniable, and third party, or waiting maybe to some extent. So these are the way through which employee can raise their voice, or they can use these strategies for being heard. The irony is that the organization should create both formal and informal mechanism through which employee voice can be had. Formal mechanism, all of you know that through survey, through communication tools, through discussion, one-to-one session, counseling session, appraisal session, individual idea sharing sessions. So these are maybe very formal mechanism, but there are also many informal mechanism where your culture is very open and the culture is trustworthy. In that case, employee voice can be heard many times. But if the culture is not very supportive, leadership is not supportive, we may not use more on the direct voice strategy. But if you are using direct voice strategy, then it is very, very beneficial for many organizations. Then we go to the last one that called your how to make the employee voice to make the organization very, very sustainable in long run. I have taken, there are many points are there, but I have taken only the three important points when we are discussing about this thing. That's called your employee voice increases organizational agility. All of you know that we are talking about resilience, agility, and both resilience means we are facing some kind of setback, then you are bouncing back in a graceful way or in a more vigorous way. So that is called your resilience. For becoming a resilient organization, you have to develop this organizational agility, that you can respond to the changes which is happening very faster, and you can accommodate those changes and adapt those changes in a dynamic setup. So that is called your organizational agility. So more you had employee voice, that means if you listen to employee can suggest, we can brainstorm, we can get more involvement of the employee, and employee can also be part and parcel of such change programs, and they can respond very easily, accommodate those changes. So organizational agility increases when you listen to the employee voice. And since nowadays we are having the workforce, which are more younger workforce of the new generation workforce, where the new generation workforce are very much interested to be heard. They're very much interested to listen and very much interested that we should be heard by our organization. So, and that's why that involvement increases your organizational agility. And once the organizational agility increases, obviously you can make your performance more sustainable. Your business performance is more sustainable because you are more closer to the customer. You are more closer to the market. You are more closer to the changes, environmental changes. You are more closer to the technological changes. You are more closer to the cultural or societal changes, because employee voice is a mechanism through which you can bring these changes to your organization and develop organizational agility to respond there. So that's why organization becomes more sustainable. When we talk sustainable means today's my performance is good, tomorrow my performance is also good, and after 5 years, 10 years also, I expect my performance will be equally good. And if that is the case, then obviously we think we are more sustainable. So that's why organizational agility play a very, very vital role in increasing sustainable performance, and for which employee voice act as an antecedent factor. If employee voice is more and employee voice is more active, it is more pro-social in nature, more positive in nature, then obviously organizational agility. Second point talks about employee voice prevents knowledge, skill loss, and improve collective learning. Very, very important. In today's environment, if you like earlier it was in 90s, the talk was that perform you perish, perform or you perish. Means if no performance, that means you will be wiped out from the competition. You will not have any kind of place. But when we talk about today's scenario, innovate or perish. If you don't innovate, you will not be accepted in the competitive market. The same product, the same thing, you cannot give. So for innovative mindset to be developed, the knowledge to be acquired, the knowledge to be shared, and the knowledge to be utilized. And that's why unless and until you hear the employee voice, you cannot just have the knowledge sharing. So you're preventing the knowledge to be with you. So most of the knowledge are not in codified form, are not tangible in nature. Most of the knowledge is a tacit in form and intangible in form. So even simple, if I hear the experience of my senior people who truly share his or her experience, I can gain a lot of insights regarding my career, regarding my contribution to the organization in future. So in that case, we say that employee voice, if promoted, it helps to maintain the loss of knowledge. No loss of knowledge will occur. Skill loss will not be there, because knowledge and skill, these are very, very important. And third is improve collective learning. Innovation is not individual learning. We can say that it is a collective learning. So the competence of the collective people, which is reflected in collective learning, may be the core competence of an organization, or maybe the organization's ability to innovate or to give something different or new to the market. So that's why employee voice prevents knowledge, skill loss, and improve collective learning. And that's why we can say that more innovation, more sustainable you are. So more innovation organization is having, more sustainability you can address. Then the third point and the last point, which is very important, is called your employee voice improves employer branding. Many of you might have seen that many employers post something that the best employee of the month, and then the employees say something about the organization. The employees share their experience. The employee also shares their the reason of choosing one particular employer brand and to work there for a longer time. So that's why more you allow the employee voice to be heard, then more you develop employer branding. So more the employer branding means more talented pool you can invite to your organization, and more talented pool means more sustainable workforce, and more sustainable workforce means productive and profitable organization you can develop. So that's why employer branding is very, very vital, and more you listen to employee voice, you can develop a good employer branding. Employer voice also allows the employee to internalize the purpose and the values for which the organization exists, because most of the voice are reflected in the purpose and the values, and it is converted in terms of product, process and service which we are offering to our customer, to or what we are giving back to our society. It is the reflection of the voice, and that's why people can really internalize the purpose of the organization and the values of the organization. So you can make the organization not a profit oriented organization, but rather a purpose oriented organization. So here, and we are not simply, we are just going to add or move up in the value chain, rather we creates more value. So we can, value addition can be done at each and every level. So once you hear employee voice. But it's not all positive. When we talk about employee voice, we don't say that everything is positive. Here, it is not possible to discuss, but whom you are going to listen, whose voice is important. So there you have to find out, there are different kinds of employee voice are there, but one is called positive and constructive voice, and negative and destructive voice. Negative and destructive voice create some kind of counterproductive behavior within the organization. So that is detrimental. So instead, because the voice is there, but the voice is negative, okay, voice can be negative when it is a whistle blowing, something wrong is happening in an organization. But deliberately, if somebody is trying to create a bad image for the organization and negatively reacting to everything, so that may be detrimental in long run. But yes, whistle blowing is allowed through employee voice, where a negative things which is happening in an organization and somebody is raising the voice, it may be positive in long run for other employees, or it can create a good work culture. So you have to distinguish that whose voice is important and whose voice to be heard, and whether this voice create a positive outcome or the voice create a destructive or negative outcome. And another thing is that where we have to be a reactive voice and where you have to use a proactive voice. So in this two way, we have to distinguish. And with this, I think we should end. And I have 10 minutes time for, I have deliberately kept it 10 minutes for interaction session. If anyone want to ask any question, moderator can look into the questions and we can answer the question and we can. I think Dr. Ashok Das is having some query. Sir, you can unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Ma'am, can you answer the question, ma'am?
Okay. I think the first one is just importance of the topic, and the second one is generally small organizations have an inherent advantage of encouraging employee voice, and how do you see this happening in bigger organizations spread across continents with absolute difference in culture? So a very good question. And when I was talking about that integration of IR, HRM and OB perspective, that is one of the things which is also addressed in different research studies, and that is called the cultural integration and the impact of culture. And many times when we say that 86% of people or 90% of people voice is not heard, because in many multinational companies or in many culture, the marginalized culture or the subculture, they face this kind of problem, and sometimes that is the reason for which they feel deprived. And the one important point I can have is that first we have to create a trustworthiness within the organization. Leader has to play a very vital role where he has to accept the cross-cultural reality in global organization. Third is that the openness should not be in pen and paper. It should be reflected in the trust which we generate. So perceived trust, which that employee perceive that whenever I am just going to say my voice, it is a trustworthy. So the leader and the organizational culture play a vital role. I think many good organizations and larger organizations still use it as a tools, like Google is very open in using this employee voice, and that is one of the mechanisms for which the success of the Google is also there. One of the very largest organization throughout the world and very popular organization also. I hope I have answered your query. I think no other queries are there. If anyone wants to also you can unmute yourself, can ask your question.
Participants cannot unmute themselves, ma'am.
Okay.
They can write the questions only in the chat box.
All right. I think there is no questions there. So
Moderator, ma'am, has once again joined.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes, you can proceed, Pratima.
Thank you, madam. It was an insightful and enthusiastic session, and I'm extremely sorry since I think I'm having a problem in mobile, but I was unmuting from that time. And I learned so much about this different forms of voice and basically what sustainability and how we can relate this to employee voice. Actually, I got a clear idea, and I am sure that our participants have also got a vast perspective about employee voice and sustainability and different forms and motives and behavior of voice. I want to take a moment to thank our speaker for her insightful and enthusiastic session and for her time and valuable insights on employee voice. I would also like to thank each and everyone for joining us. We hope you leave this webinar with a renewed perspective on employee voice. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you again. We look forward to see you at next event. Have a wonderful day. Ma'am, should we exit because we do not have any more questions and all? Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, do we need to fill the registration form or a feedback form?
Ma'am, they will fill it, ma'am, because we have shared it. They will fill it and we'll close it by 4 o'clock. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.